Hello, I'm Robin and welcome to Molten Modular. Today we're having a look at the OhmForce Bohm. The Bohm. What is it? Well, it's a kick drum. It's a kick drum, but it's more than that. It's an entire system of kick drum and performance wrangling that brings together lots of different elements to produce that perfect doomph. Not just a perfect doomph, but a doomph within the context of absolutely everything else that you're doing. What do I mean? Well, a little bit like this. It's a little bit overwhelming. Out of the box, you get this entire array of stuff. 3 modules, not just one module, 3 modules. Now, normally speaking, when I'm doing a kick drum, I use this. It's a 1U little analog 808 kick drum. It's got like 1 control, 2 controls. It's actually in here. And it goes dum. And that's what I like. So whenever I'm faced with a complicated, massively HP'd kick drum, I'm often scratching my head wondering, well, what really is the point of all of this? But of course, I've been proven wrong time and time again. And the Bohm is no exception. It offers a range of kick drums, a range of sounds that you can explore. They don't necessarily wander that far from each other. There's a style to it, a feel to it that doesn't in any way keep you guessing. You know exactly what you're going to get, but it gives a range of controls that can really dig in to the perfect kick drum. And then when it's finished doing that, it stuffs on this other thing. This, I think they call it techno rumble. Do they? Is that what they call it? It's a rumble behind the kick. It's a kick behind the kick. It's a kick that sort of echoes sort of ghost sorts of reverbs and warps its way through the background of what is going on, which apparently they say is vital if you are making kick-driven music. And then there's another bit where they squeeze the kick through to its output while stuffing everything else through a ducking sidechaining compressor. And, for good measure, adding a couple of DJ effects for sort of funsies, I suppose. And all of it comes in this case-eating huge array of knobs and sliders. I mean, it's beautiful. The layout, the fact that you have all this space between everything that you can find and play and touch, and these whacking great big sliders on here. Everything about it screams performance, screams play with me, take me out into the clubs and make people bounce to this. And that, I think, is, in a nutshell, what the Bohm is all about. So I'm going to bring you in. We're going to have a look a little bit closer. Going to have a listen to some of the sounds, I suppose. But I'm sure there are lots of sound demos out there. But we're going to have a poke around in the interesting bits and pieces that I think it does to see whether that's going to be suitable for what you want to do. I really can't decide whether I am prepared to give up this much space to a kick drum. I mean, that is ultimately, I think, for me, what it's all about. But then I increasingly find that when you focus on one module, or two or three in this particular case, you really can pull an entire universe out of these things. And so you just have to ultimately make the choice as to what it is you want to focus on. Is the kick drum something in your set that you really want to massage, you really want to squeeze and pulse and push and change and use that as something which is going to enthrall a crowd? If that's the case, then maybe the price in HP is absolutely worth it. Maybe. So here we have it. Bohm then. It's made out of three parts. You've got the main drum generating part in the middle. You've got the groove on the side, which is badly named, I feel, but that's nothing to do with me. And then you've got Performer on the other side, which is a little bit more well placed, I think. But it will become clear what it is I understand and don't understand as we go. But so don't worry about that. But the important thing is that you get to have a look at the sort of things that it does. So ultimately, Bohm here, if we just focus on the noise creation system in the first place, it's essentially a wavetable and sample based sound engine that they have curated towards 9 different sorts of kick drums. Using our encoder here, we can scan through the different ones it has inside, and we can have a fair guess of what each of them is. FM2X, that's a 2-operator FM kick drum, sounds a bit like this. But of course it sounds like all sorts of things, depending on where you want to put it. And as you move to the next kick drum, the next one is an HZ1. I should go and have a look and see what this is. HZ1 is some form of wavetable. But as you move to the next one, it reads all of the knobs and takes those settings with it, which is quite interesting. Not always what you want, but it does mean that the knobs are always pointing to the right thing, which is unusual in anything which has a screen. Then we have a 4-operator FM thing. It's all kick drum, yeah? You getting it? Then there's this one, which is a physical modelling kick drum, which I have to say is the least impressive. I don't know, is it doing anything? Doesn't sound anything like a drum kit to me. I don't know. The PX3, which is more wavetables and samples put together in a slightly weirder way, which gives you a really nice kickback. Super. The SP6, which apparently is more digital. When you push it. The VXT focuses on the transient synthesizer. There you go. WT4, they say, is a slightly more analog sound. then the XT88, you can load your own samples and wavetables into. It's not something that I've done. So that is your 9 set of kicks. So it's all kick. There's nothing else going on in here. There's no sneaky snare. There's no hi-hats or anything else. It's all just kick drums from that. You've got, for every kick, you can use all 9 knobs to change various aspects. It changes a little bit for each one, but on the whole, you've got the length that it's going on for, how long it's sustained before it drops away, how much attack. This always feels like you're increasing the attack in terms of a slope on an envelope, when actually it's sort of increasing the edge of that attack, so the fierceness of the way in, if you know what I mean. You've got pitch and of course a curve depending on how you want that modulated. You then got these transient decay and transient tones. You then got colour, which is kind of saturating it, I suppose. And then you've got an effect, which can be different things. It can be a distortion, it can be a bit crusher at times, but it can also be a filter. And those are your main things with which you can play and craft your particular kick drum sound. Everything can be modulated, so you can have the whole thing changing the entire time if you want. So if you wanted to wander off into a little bit more of an experimental realm of kick drum manufacturing, then this would certainly be interesting. I'm not going to spend any time on the modulation. We're just going to fart around with this for a little bit and then move on to see what else is good. So let me run a pattern in. I'll leave the snare there. Maybe I've even put in some hi-hat just for interest, and I'll rewind back through and just make some adjustments so you can hear it a little bit more in context. So there you go, a quick rummage around in the sound crafting possibilities of the Bohm. I'm not intending this to be an exhaustive examination of the sounds, but I think that gives you a little bit of a flavour. Now the next thing we want to move to is the groove expansion over here. Now this is all about something called techno rumble. This is a little bit new to me, I confess, because I'm an old fuddy-duddy who doesn't really know anything, but apparently people like there to be something going on in the wake of a kick drum. And this is what this is all about, and it's fascinating. It is totally fascinating. So what do I mean? Well, let's set our hit going. Now what you put into here is a clock, and on that clock it then throws in this sort of background secondary kick. So I can bring that up here. Just going to take that down a little bit so we can hear it a little bit better. So you've got these 3 taps here, which you can adjust the level of. Essentially what you get is sort of a reverb and a noise and a grit and this secondary waveform, this kick, which is running in here. And as you pull the colour round, you start to get noise and the reverb tails introduced. If you bring the length down, you start to find sort of the throb between things. Going to move to a different kick just for fun. Now funny enough, the 4 operator one doesn't have the groove background thing. It doesn't function, it's not a thing. I think all of the resources are being used purely on doing the 4 operator FM thing. But on other ones, it's certainly there, and you get a feel for what it is that's really going to match up with what you're trying to do. as you can tell, I'm no techno genius. I'm just using this as some kind of example to give you an idea of what it can do. Your usage will evidently and definitely be far better and more nuanced, and you'll know exactly what it is that you're doing, but hopefully this is giving you a flavour. The fact you can drop it out and drop it in is pretty awesome. And my understanding is that people spend a lot of time crafting this sort of background in things like Ableton Live and other DAWs in order to create this space, this oomph behind the doomph, as it were. And whereas here you've just got it sort of dialed straight in. It's really interesting. So that brings us to the last section, which is the performer section. Now this is a sidechain ducking thing with a fantastic DJ style effect based in. So if I turn all the rest of my rubbish back on, you'll be able to hear exactly what that's doing. So this is with nothing engaged at all. I've got the mix of the other three sounds all coming in through here, directly into this module. And then as I turn the duck up, it will start to pull it down to let the kick through. Yeah? I can also pull out the kick entirely. Now this reminds me very much of the kickane from a Modular, which is a standalone module which has a kick drum built into it. And so it's a very similar idea that you sidechain everything else through so you can pull that away to let this kick shine through. This could very easily be a standalone module, I think, if they just had an input for you to put your own kick in. Then the other thing is this fella here, which is just super. Now it has a couple of different effect options. This is called the slip roll. It also has a beat roll. It just grabs one beat. There's a low pass filter. A high pass. Oh. A high pass filter, and then a DJ filter which is both. Personally, the slip roll, I'm all over that. So that is a general idea. You create your sound here, you craft it from 9 different curated modules, and then you add the rumble, the behind, the follow, the ghost, whatever it is that runs in the wake of that kick drum, and then you can duck the heck out of it in order to punch it through your mix and add some interesting effects. You can spend your entire set just fiddling with your kick drum, which is not something that would ever have occurred to me before. So fascinating, Totally fascinating. Did I mention you can also add your own wavetables and samples on the last one? So you can build in exactly the sort of tone and things you were using in a DAW, in Ableton or in something like that, and you can dump them directly into here. You can pull waveforms from Serum and stick it in here. So it makes it an extraordinarily versatile module for sound design and getting the actual kick that you want to use, particularly in live performance. Now there's all sorts of settings and bits and pieces in the background behind the screen, and there's a whole, what you could potentially call a song mode, which is where you can chain different kicks together. Another thing that's never occurred to me is to use 2 different kicks in a song. Fantastic, what a great idea. So if you like a sound that you've made, you can save it by holding hit and pressing this button here. I'm then going to save it to step 1 as kick 1. There we go. I'm then going to make some changes like that. I'm going to save that as kick 2. I'm then going to go to a different sound like that. Save that as 3. And then maybe one more. Into step 4 as kick 4. Now with every snapshot you can capture absolutely everything, or you can choose not to. So there's lots of settings in there as to whether the knobs override what's been going on, because as you swap from one to another it will load everything within that snapshot. But it may be that you want to be riding the colour knob the entire time, in which case you don't want that suddenly changing to something else. Or it may be that you want to take the performer out of the equation so that the effects stay the same regardless of what your kick has changed to. Or you could use it as a way of flipping the effects on these, because otherwise to change the effect you've got to dig around in the menu a little bit. So to be able to do it as part of a snapshot is potentially quite interesting. And then once you've selected your different snapshots, you then go into a different mode. So we've been in studio mode so far, where everything is just what you see and you play with it and you change it, and that's fine. But if you go into live mode, you then have a few choices. You can start a jam where you can just have the different kicks going on, or you can start a song where you can program them in to come on a trigger into the function button here. If I just start a jam first, this should hopefully show you what I mean. Let me come back out. I just need to make the length slightly bigger. Where did I do that? I wonder. Where did I do that? So let's go back into live. Start song. Okay, steps. 4 steps. Okay. And then we loop. So start jam. So I've got... in this, my 4 kicks are loaded up, and I can move on from one to the other whenever I want. So I start something going. So I can drop the different kick in essentially whenever I like. I can cue the next one up. that's an interesting thing that I've run into from time to time, which is with the slip and the beat effect. It seems to get sort of stuck once you've stopped and no longer sending it a clock. You have to set hit in order to turn it off. Even if you turn it off here, it doesn't seem to make any difference. It must be just some kind of clocking kind of enabling glitch, I imagine, at the moment. But it's the only problem that I've seen in my entire usage of the Bohm so far. So that's doing it manually. You can come out of here and do it in a more automated way using the song mode. Now with this, it will just go careering through them every time from one to the other in a line. There's probably a way of programming how often that happens. I can't quite remember what that is, but you need to send this a trigger into its function input, because it doesn't seem to do it, does it? I can't seem to get it to trigger manually, so I have to send it something. So what can I do? I have a spare anything, so I give that a low clock, put that into function, set it going. So it's stepping through each kick according to the trigger. So there you go. I hope in my sort of ham-fisted, no idea what I'm doing musically kind of demonstration that was perhaps helpful in showing you what the Bohm is all about. It is remarkably thrilling device to play with, because I mean, you can only personally I can only spend so long crafting a kick drum. Once I've got a kick drum, I like that kick drum, but what it is about this that makes it interesting is that you can pump all that stuff in the background and you can start playing with that. You can start playing with the color and the pitch of that, how that fills out that background, and then you can pump your rest of your mix through and start playing with that. And there's no doubt that being able to duck all of the more sustained stuff in the background is really, really very helpful in bringing that kick through. And it does it so beautifully. And then the very playful effects, I think I just find those fun. I really like that. I like that very much. The question remains as to whether you can give up this much space to that kick drum. Now, you're doing more than a kick drum. Of course, you are crafting to some degree a large part of your sonic output, particularly if you are kind of techno, club, kick driven, then this is going to matter to you. And I think that in that scenario, in that case, being able to give up that much space for it is okay. It's worth it. It makes itself useful. Now, personally, I would love to have a little performer module like this, through which you can put your own kick drum. It's like the Kickane is glorious from Modular. I really, really like it, except that you kind of end up having to use their kick, which is fine. It's all right. It's a good kick, but I would like the versatility and the option to be able to mix through something else easily. And it takes a little bit of fudging and shenanigans to do that with the Kickane. So the potential of the Performer module here is that it could be fabulous for everyone. Because when you look at the techno rumble side of things, the groove side of things, that I feel is a little bit more focused, a little bit more direct, a little bit more limited in its appeal, because it's kind of doing this one thing. It's an interesting thing, but it is that one thing. And if you're after that sound, fantastic. If you've been trying to recreate that in modular and finding you have to use half a dozen modules in order to create this background sort of reversed whop reverb second kick grittiness, then this is flipping fantastic, because it solves all of those problems and lets you mix it in completely naturally within what you're doing. If that is something that you've never come across before in your life, then it's going to be a lot less interesting. But there's no reason why you couldn't get the kick and the Performer, just those two. You don't have to have all three. You can just have the main one and the one on the left or the one on the right, depending on what it is that you require. You can't run the side one separately. You have to have the middle one. But I would suggest to OhmForce that these are useful enough to be things in their own right, I would say, and you should strongly consider putting them out there as individual modules. I really like the idea of changing kick drums halfway through a thing. As I say, that's never really occurred to me before, because I am a simple person with simple needs. But the ability to do that is quite brilliant, particularly if you can do it manually. I think programming it in for me is having to put far too much intention into what you're doing. I like just to let the weird stuff happen, and so for me, dropping to a different kick manually would definitely be the way to go. There's a lot of interesting change and tonal character you can get within those different kicks, but as I said, they do sort of live in a particular place. But then I guess that's the point. You want a kick that's going to sound recognizably like a kick, with a little bit of fringe around the edges that you can point it out to in order to grab in some character and some interest and some difference. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it's about. So the variation, although not great, is actually everything that you need. Yeah, very interesting. It's a very interesting collection of stuff. I mean, it could easily be its own module, its own desktop unit, because it's so engaging and provides these tools which perhaps are missing if you've got a bunch of desktop synths and you're trying to do techno in some kind of form. Then something like this could really bring it all together, I think. So there you go. It's fun, it's fruity, it's performable, it's very on the fingers, as you go, but also can be desperately intentional if you want to program your arse off to have everything work when it's supposed to, which is brilliant. I hope that was helpful. And in the meantime, go and make some tunes.